Hi, my name is Celeste, and I'm here with the man behind the project Howling. Now to get started, how did this project come into existence, and what was the original vision behind this?
I'm Jogger. I started howling out of frustration with trying to play with other people in my area. I tried playing in other bands and nobody really took it seriously. So I started to teach myself how to play other instruments and how to record and kind of how to master. I'm not really mastered that yet in a way. Um, but I had a vision for what I wanted to do and what I wanted to play, and I could not ever meet anybody who had the same vision that I did. So eventually I just sat down one day and started writing stuff on my own, probably about the end of 2017, beginning of 2018. And ever since then I've pretty much been committed to this and nothing else. So um this is kind of more so born out of frustration, but also out of a will to create something that speaks to me and possibly could speak to other people. So that's pretty much exactly where it came from.
Okay, that's really interesting. Now I am gonna actually, I guess, go a bit more into what you mentioned as far as like finding people. Um, Now I know the black metal genre definitely has like a strong regional identity, and especially in the US it can vary from one place to another. Speaking for myself, New York definitely does have that scene. And I'm curious, does the region that you have or are in, does it influence your music in a way, or do you feel like it's something newer because of where you are?
Um, I'm on the cusp of Appalachia, which does have a really good black metal scene. There are several bands that do come from outside the air, like just outside the area, that are very, very good bands. But I would say like the area that I'm in right now does not necessarily have a great scene at all. Everybody either wants to play some kind of like, god awful deathcore rip-off thing, or they want to play some, traditional uh metal that's just, really watered down and doesn't have much substance. So when you meet somebody out here that is actually anywhere interested in black metal, it's very rare. Um, and it, can be very frustrating, but I do take a lot of influence and um, borrow a lot of imagery from the area that I'm in, because it's definitely, I'm in a rural area at the end of the day. So, and I believe that black metal really has its roots in rural areas and the forest and um, areas like that. So, uh, there's definitely some of that, but I'm still trying to create my own thing in a way. So I'm trying to like invent things and borrow things at the same time as far as it comes to my location.
Yeah, no, I definitely get that. And that's really interesting. And also, I guess, as far as where you are, it's good because a lot of people, especially when you interview them from like Scandinavian countries or places where they are in like a rural area, they definitely get more inspiration from the area that they're in.
Right.
Now your music explores the themes of like hatred, darkness, misanthrope. Now what draws you to these subjects artistically?
I think if I was to write something like most black metal has like really religious or anti-religious themes, it just wouldn't you know, make sense to me because I don't necessarily like dwell in things like that. So I always thought that the human side of things and the human consciousness was the real evil in the world. Um and with, kind of like the job that I have, and the things that I've done in my life, I've observed a lot of really, you know different sides of people. um interacting with them and seeing what they do and how they act and the way that they go about treating other people even. Um, I always thought that that was one of the most evil things that you could write about was the human consciousness and the way that people can conduct themselves in the world. And um, so that's pretty much where a lot of the lyrical content comes from. But I do write in an open-ended way. I try to write in metaphors so that people could read the lyrics and come up with their own interpretations of what the songs mean.
That's really interesting, especially because as someone who like that's another thing is like looking into lyrics, I guess, or hearing them. Um, Now your newest full length that just recently came out, what was your mindset that you were kind of in while writing it?
So this album's actually written a lot differently than the last two. The last two, almost when I listen to them, they almost feel like demos in a way.
Hmm.
Um, not as polished, not as I mean there's still some really good stuff on there on those two, but I was trying to improve musically more than lyrically on this one. Um, so I went back and learned a lot of scales that I kind of didn't necessarily utilize back when I was writing the first two. So my approach was to write something a lot more um, meaningful and something even more melodic. Like there's a lot of I was listening to a lot of dissection like when I was writing this, so there was a lot of that. Um, but I was trying to write something that was different that could still be interpreted as a Howling album. And like I said, going back and learning more, a lot more theory and things like that in my riff writing, and was pretty much the end result of it. So, um, just trying to create a different atmosphere that could translate into a Howling record and maybe jumpstart something new for myself. And this was a longer process than usual. Because I think Beyond the Realms Obscure was out in April 2024, and this one just came out in 2026. So, um, and I had somebody actually master the album this time around.
Mm.
So, just getting a different pair of ears on it as well, because I always did everything myself, but I kind of want to get somebody else involved and make this something different. And I think I succeeded at the end of the day for sure because I sit back and listen to it, and I'm just amazed at some of the riffs that I wrote on this.
That's great. Um, I would say it definitely it sounds really good. Um, and I guess that's good that you wanted to do something better on it because I know a lot of people that I've spoken with, they are at that point where they're like, oh, I want to get better and stuff like that. So it's really good that you, at least with this one, you achieved that and you're making something that you feel that's better.
hmm
Now, what does the title of this new full length represent to you?
Like I said, I write in metaphors, so there's a certain like meaning to it. Um, Even though it might sound like nonsense or jarbled words to people, but I there's several different meanings, but like I said, I want people to like read it and ponder it and think, what does that mean to me? Um, because at the end of the day, I would like for my music to be a springboard for people to think for themselves and interpret it for themselves. And, even if they come to a different conclusion to what it means, to me when I initially thought of it, like that's even better. Um, because I think that there's been a lot of people getting involved with extreme metal that, in my opinion, should not be getting involved with it. They kind of want to get led like by the hand, and they want people to constantly tell them like every single thing, and they don't want to think for themselves, and they don't want to have their own thoughts on stuff. And I think that really goes against the spirit of metal in general, this um, kind of conformity or conformist way of thinking. So, I mean, a title can be whatever anybody thinks it is. Um,
Yeah.
but for me, it has several different meanings, but it's hard to pinpoint one. Um, but when I sat and actually thought of the title, I was like, you know what, that's it. Because every single album title, it's just, this is it, that's it. But it had several working titles in the beginning, but that was the one I settled on. So, um, kind of an incidental thing, I would say.
Yeah. No, it's definitely an interesting one. Um, Now there are definitely some like vivid imagery in some of the your other songs in these tracks, like The Speed of Hatred or Upon a Frigid Threshold. Now do you write lyrics, I guess, as far as your metaphor goes? Do you prefer having like the more abstract concepts when you write, or do you feel like that there is some personal emotion to them?
I think it's a little bit of both.
Hmm.
Um, there's definitely like I try to write in the abstract and metaphors, like I said, and there's a certain meaning to the song titles when I start writing them, and then they grow into something, uh, bigger than what, the lyrics can, because you can only put so many lyrics in a song, and trying to fit every single thought or feeling that you have into those lyrics can be challenging, especially when you're trying to write in the way that I like to write. And so I mean, there's certain songs I've written in the past that um, kind of have settled on a meaning to me over time. Like, for example, on my first EP, there's a track called Decrepit Dismembered Dominion, and I specifically remember writing that about the drug problem that we have around here.
Mhm.
And you read the lyrics, and it completely makes sense when you see it from that angle, like what that song's about. But a lot of the songs that I write have so many, different abstract and um, ways to interpret it. Um, so over time, it usually settles on a meaning, um, but I do love it when people read lyrics and come to me and say, oh, well, this is what this meant to me. And it's like, oh, okay, well, that was completely different than what I wrote it, but you got the assignment anyways. So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, I do enjoy writing lyrics. Um, but that's a process in itself, and doing the vocals is a process in itself. Different from the music, but when you put them all together, it like this album has just been, when I put it all together, I was just so amazed by how everything came together and how perfect it was.
Yeah. Um, as far as your songwriting goes, like you said, that's one whole thing of itself. How do you approach it? Do you feel like it's more spontaneous aggression or that it's more of a carefully structured atmosphere?
So I start off songs with the first riff. It's always the first riff. And then it's kind of like a weird audition of other riffs that I have or something I come up with on the spot.
Hmm.
So in a way, it's more calculated. Um, but then if I get frustrated and I can't think of something, I walk away from it for a minute, and then when I come back to it, it's a like a spontaneous thing that sometimes that'll come out. Um, I think Upon a Frigid Threshold had that.
Hmm.
It went from that melodic riff to that really kind of like, standard uh like kind of like low tempo black metal riff that I just started playing out of nowhere when I was trying to write it. And I'm like, and it just clicked. So there's a little bit of a mixture between the both.
Yeah, I like that. Now, as far as your other work, from this project, how do you see your progression from this project so far? Because I know you said that you feel like you've gotten better, but I guess in general, from starting out to your most recent full length.
Yeah. Um, I've gotten better at recording. I've gotten better at dialing in tones. I've gotten better at playing. Um, gotten better really at having an image and seeing it through because I feel like the because like I listen back to the first two demos and I can't stand them. I mean, they were a mess, and I think that my life at the time was a bit of a mess too, so that might be a reflection of that. But I go back and listen to um uh the aesthetics of rot and altar of depravity, and I can hear like myself kind of stepping over myself, like kind of fumbling over my feet in a way,
Mhm.
but there were good moments in those albums, and then the EP Hostis Humani Generis, it was more of a concentrated effort and a lot more calculated than the other two, and then Beyond the Realms Obscure was kind of like where I finally set into something, like I settled down into a groove in a way. But this record is a continuation of that, but better. So I do see that there's been a lot of progression made, and I'm very proud of the fact that I've been able to actually get better because there are bands that they completely, you know, absolutely just blow their load on the first record that they write, and then everything else is just downhill from there. And
Mhm.
I didn't want to be that guy that did that.
Yeah.
I wanted to continuously get better and write better stuff and challenge myself to do it because um, I didn't want it to become stale and I didn't want it to become a continuous re-recording of the last record. And um, I think allowing myself to learn more and to do more help me write a better album.
Yeah. I think that's a great way of thinking about it too, as far as like the progression instead of just doing it all at once and then going from there. Um, Now, what role does production play in your sound? Do you aim for like more rawness or clarity or something in between?
I try to go for something in between when I dial in my sounds. I definitely want there to like for this record, like I think I did four guitar tracks for every song. So there's two
Mhm.
leads and two rhythm tracks. And those are all separately recorded because if you just copy and paste it, it just sounds louder. It doesn't sound any better. And then every single tone on every single track is different. Like even if it's slightly different, it's different so that there's a unique sound to it. So I definitely try to go for some clarity, but I want to keep it in that metal spirit and keep it distorted and keep it, kind of uh what's the word, like dissonant
Mhm.
and distorted, but it's definitely like more of an in between thing.
Yeah, no, I definitely hear that. Like there still are some raw elements, and especially even in this one, so it has like a nice mix to it. Which is nice for people who like more like raw stuff. If you want something like that, I would say this new full length definitely has that in there. Now, kind of as a final question here, what comes next after this full length? Do you have a plan on like another release coming later down the line, or do you have like more of an exploration? I would ask about live performances, but I assume you probably don't plan on doing that.
Yeah, finding musicians around here, like I said, is kind of
Hmm.
uh you know, but howling, I feel like for me is more of a personal thing. I've always been open to doing stuff with other people. Um, it's just finding the right people that
Mhm.
have, a unique vision to do it because the last thing I want to do is play in a Dark Throne cover band or something like that. No offense to Dark Throne, at all. Because I mean especially the Unholy Trilogy is great records, very inspirational to me. Um, but I think for Howling, this has always been something personal for me. This is something I've always dumped a lot of my creative energy into, and it will continue to go. Um, Unfortunately, the label Blasphemous Creations of Hell Records is closed.
Mhm.
Um, Chuck, who runs that label, has been incredible, has been my biggest supporter from day one. Um, and I started my own small label called Obsidian Banner Records, which I'm going to be releasing my stuff on. But if there's anybody out there that hears Howling and has a label and they're really interested, I'm open to talking to them um, to get my stuff out there. But at the end of the day, yes, there is plans to keep this going because this has kind of really been a great, outlet for me creatively. And um, I want people to hear the stuff that I'm recording and the stuff that I'm writing, and because I think it's quality and I stand behind it 1,000%. And I will continue to write and record and put as much music out there in the world as I can.
That's great. Well, thank you so much. It's been very nice speaking with you and definitely very interesting to get your thoughts on your most recent album. And I will say, anyone who is interested, you should check it out because I checked it out for myself. So yeah, thank you so much, and I definitely wish you the best of luck in your future endeavors.
Thank you for your time.